Actually, remember to mute it this time. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Just Whelmed, noted, episode 5. Today we'll be talking about episodes 9 and 10. A set of episode titles, Darkest and Before Dawn, which it's a nice little duo. So we do have Joe Davis here today. He's having a little bit of technical difficulties. I just got him muted right now so he could try to get his camera stuff all situated. But I will start talking about these episodes in a bit once I get started. So, thanks. So, there's the first episode we have here. We have Aqualad. Yeah. Joe's like, sorry, he's causing a whole bunch of problems apparently. So we got Aqualad. He's got this whole group of of the younger villains. He's got Tigress, which is a disguised Artemis, guys, and the Terror Twins, who last season McGann and Connor had disguised themselves as, and Icicle Jr., who spends a good portion of the episode hitting on the female Terror Twin, whose name Tuppence. Tuppence is her name, because he got so attracted to her from McGann pretending to be her. But it's like, she's like, this is the first time we've met. This is creepy. So they're on a mission to go attack the cave because he needs to pass on some intel to Nightwing, and this is like the only way that he can think about doing it. So at the beginning of the episode, he winds up injecting Lagan with something, and it's also so weird. Lagan and Icicle Jr. in the same episode, because Yuri Lorenthal's voice for both of them is very Yuri Lorenthal-ish. So it's very similar. I'm gonna mute Joe for a bit just so he can give his audio opinions, and so try to see. Oh,
yeah,
there.
sorry, I was walking around
Yeah.
looking for my camera. It's troubling.
No
Anywho, I'm feeling very traught right now. But no, I loved it too with when Icicle Jr. is hitting on Tuppence Terror, and he's like, "Man, I can't stop thinking about you since we first met." And she's like, "This is the first time we've met." And he's like, "Well, I mean, technically." And I love that, like, she got Tuppence Terror pretty dead on. McGann did, but the other Terror, the Terror brother, holy crap, he looks nothing like Superboy.
Well,
like, not even close.
To be fair, 5 years have passed, and he did not look like that 5 years ago.
That's true, but still, it's hilarious. It's hilarious how big he is.
Yes, he's gigantic.
But I really, really liked this arc. And I told Ashley that I called it when we were watching it, because I wasn't here for the last 2 episode recap, and the reveal on what was going on. I'm like, nailed it.
But yeah, I guess you were not expecting the fake out of Artemis's death to then lead to her also being undercover.
I did not. That was unexpected.
Yes,
that was a complete shock.
Yeah, it's like it was definitely a complete shock to me when I first saw the episode, when seeing him stab it, when you're not entirely sure if he is undercover or not, and you're like,
right.
But it's like it's a nice arc which comes to a head next episode, which I will love to talk about when we get to it.
Me too.
Also in this episode, we got a little side plot with Mal and Bumblebee, where Mal really is desperately trying to get his girlfriend's attention, but she's just not having it.
Yeah, she's busy doing sciencey things.
Yeah. It's like that whole plot line just seems too real. You know?
Yeah, I can see that.
It's too real.
It's too real, Roy. It's too real.
Speaking of Roy, I didn't hear any of your opinions on Arsenal last week. Oh, 2 weeks ago rather.
It's fine. I honestly had kind of hoped the Harper subplot, the Arrow subplot would be gone by now, but it's not. So I'll live.
It gets better. It gets better. Don't worry.
I'd imagine.
Like it interweaves with the main plot more later on. Don't worry. There's a point to it.
And I don't doubt it. This falls similarly into the category of the feeling I had when Lex Luthor gave Superboy the shields. I'm like, in what world do you think this is a good idea to take a weapon from Lex Luthor?
Yeah, but at the same time, he does need an arm.
Yeah, but there are literally dozens of other scientists that can make cybernetic implants and replacement arms.
I mean, fair.
So I don't get like it's not just Roy. It's like both or Speedy, whichever Roy, one-armed Roy, but Clone Roy and Oliver are both like, this is Lex Luthor.
Yeah, it's like I think the decision I made last week was that Clone Roy is Roy, young Roy is Arsenal.
Yeah.
Kind of weird to think because young Roy is original Roy.
Yeah, original recipe Roy. He's also
he's Clone Roy is extra crispy.
He's also young Roy that's technically not young Roy because he's actually existed longer.
Yeah, it's also funny that since he's been frozen for 8 years, he went under younger than Dick and woke up. He went under with Dick younger than him and woke up with Dick older than him, and it's weird.
Yeah. That's got to be messed up.
So talking about this episode, it's well, before we get to the cave, we have Blue Beetle and Impulse having their bromance blossom. Up to Blue Beetle's door, just in costume. He's like, "Dude, what are you doing?" It's like, I just want to hang out. He's like, "It's like fine, just get out of here before somebody sees you."
Right.
Probably my favorite moment of the entire episode, where they're in like the desert and Blue Beetle is blasting all the rocks. He's like, do something better than that. And Impulse is like, pretty good, but it's always better to. I find it's more difficult. It's easier to destroy than it is to create. And all he does is like rearranges some of the debris. He's like, what'd you do? And his Beetle's like, the Impulse has done nothing. And it's like, and of course we get the best line of the episode, which for the title, curb the attitude, get a little altitude. Oh, there you go. You got your camera working.
I'm having to rig something up. It's not ideal.
Yeah. It works.
Kinda.
but it's like there's always a moment where I'm going through these episodes and I'm like, is that the title? Is that the title? This one's almost immediate. I'm like, that's the title. Anything else that's said in these episodes, that's the title.
Yep. Yeah.
And it is, but it unfortunately leads to a battle between them and Aqualad's new team.
Yep.
which
half,
you know,
undercover, half not team.
Yeah. Which, you know, it's like, oh man, how'd they find us all the way out here? And then Impulse notices Calderon with this tracker. He's like, hold on a second, I'll be right back. He zooms up to Aqualad. He's like, all right, we got the tracker, let's book it.
Right. Because
and like,
I also love how his superhero name is Impulse, and that's the most descriptive superhero name ever.
Yes, it is.
Because everything about him is on impulse.
Yeah, he doesn't quite think things through, at least at this point of his life. But it's like he and Blue Beetle Zeta to the cave, got a souvenir, and then Blue Beetle's like, souvenirs are Beast Boys thing. And Impulse like, I thought it was Kid Flash's thing. It's like,
Yeah.
and then Nightwing just reams them out for bringing foreign alien tech into the cave,
Yeah.
which turns out to be the worst idea they could have possibly done, because wanted, and that tracker is in fact hacking into the cave's defenses, and the tracker is also has a tracker that leads to the other tracker.
It's really funny though, because I have to wonder how much of this was expected by either side. Considering that, like, we know at this point by the end of the episode, because you've already brought it up, that this is how Calder gets the data to Robin for other information and such. But so was Aqualad expecting it to get captured so he would have a way to get in there without like, there's levels and layers on top of this that I'm like very confused by. But I get it. It's cool. It's just, at what point does this was planned and this is a happy accident?
It's like, it's definitely Impulse being there was the happy accident that led to it. However,
yeah,
the tracker would have the original tracker probably still would have followed Blue Beetle. He went.
But then there's also the whole being able to hack into the defenses of Justice Mountain or whatever.
It's definitely their plan B.
Yeah, it shows great improvisation on Aqualad.
Yeah, it's like, because Aqualad, he knows, despite the fact that we get the confirmation that Blue Beetle and Impulse are the two most recent members of the team, because we know Impulse is the newest, and Blue Beetle is as one call sign below him, so we know for a fact that they are. So therefore, they are the two newest.
Totes.
So it's like those would be the two least likely for him to even know anything about how they would act in a situation, unless Nightwing fed him information about how they would act in any situation.
Well, and considering what we know because of the next episode, the Light might have information on them too.
That is absolutely true, especially with the case of one of them over the other. But so, they infiltrate the cave. They start by taking on Superboy, taking on. They like start fighting Blue Beetle. They start fighting Impulse. It's like the thing with Impulse is like they got. It's like Icicle Junior is like the only one of Aqualad's team that gets wrecked, because he does the thing. He's like, oh, this is a classic move. Ice the floor so the speedster can't get any traction, and then Impulse just goes around it. It's like, yeah, that's not going to work on me.
Well, you also got to think about it, like, of all the villains that ever show up in Young Justice, they even make a joke about it, like I think in the first season, where it's basically like every superhero has an ice villain.
Yeah, pretty much. There's so many ice villains. Then of course he's like, Impulse like, I like that so much, I'll try it again. And then he runs down, he tries to slam Tuppence, and just like, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Also,
it's funny.
Also, another two scenes that I really enjoyed was when Aqualad came out of the water and he was met by Sphere, and Aqualad literally just put his hand out, which I think, I guess of all of them, Sphere maybe knows what's actually going on. Maybe.
Possibly.
I don't know. That's the impression I got from that.
Well, here's the thing: if Sphere knew, then they would have to find a way to convince Sphere not to tell Superboy.
Yeah,
because
the whole plan has so many issues that come to a head next episode, but
well, like that's like the biggest hole in their plan of like keeping it secret from so many people. Wait, no, he didn't know. Because the only ones that know are Kid Flash, Artemis, Aqualad, and Nightwing.
yep, those are the only four that know. Even though Zatanna helped them.
Yep.
So really enjoy is when Artemis disguised as Tigress comes in and she's able to calm Wolf.
I'm gonna throw this out there too. Like Artemis disguised as Tigress looks so much like Jade and their mother. I'm like, how do people not figure this out?
Yeah, like I said last episode, especially when she had her hair in a ponytail, I'm like, that just looks like her. It's like it's a little more obvious in this episode than it was last time because her face is a little bit like wider or something, but it's just a dark-haired Artemis.
Well, and the Tigress mask looks a lot like an off-color Huntress mask. It's not the same, but it's very similar.
Yeah, it's like if you put any amount of thought into it, you probably should be able to figure it out. But
yeah,
it's like everybody's like Blue Beetle's like the last man standing, and they are able to get the collar on him. And it manages to actually disable his weapon systems for a bit,
which is very interesting to consider.
Yeah, it's very interesting to think about that. So even though it's technology, it's still considered powers.
Yeah. It's not a metagene. It's not any of that kind of stuff. It's literally he's got a piece of cybernetics strapped to his back, giving him these things.
Well, yeah, but it's also the same thing that the collars just generally disable super strength. It doesn't between like the Terror Twins super strength and the Superboy super strength because the collar design for the male Terror Twin remember in the slightest.
I don't either.
The one designed for him disabled Superboy's strength, but the one designed for Tuppence any of Miss Martian's other abilities.
Yeah.
Which is these colors are kind of weird and specific. We'll find out later in the season.
I kind of figured that had something to do with it's hard to explain, like a genetic situation. That's why it weirded me out that it stopped Beetle's power. Because his power, it's like basically saying Iron Man can't use his armor if he's got one of those collars on.
Yeah, but as we soon find out, that collar isn't quite effective on keeping the Beetle at bay, because the Beetle is able to bypass its abilities and he's able to temporarily take control over Jaime. Also, something we didn't mention, Aqualad brought a bomb. and he says he has a dead man switch. So if my finger comes off this button, Mount Justice is going to be destroyed. And the Beetle takes over Jaime's body and whacks Aqualad. The trigger falls out of his hand. Nothing happens. He's like, "You were bluffing."
Yep.
But then Aqualad's like, "Nah." And then he takes out his Mystic Shock hand and shocks him. It disintegrates the armor. And then Artemis hits him with a trank dart.
Yep.
It's like
awesome teamwork.
Yeah, it is awesome teamwork. It's like these people have been working together for like 6 years.
Oh, who'd thunk?
So it's like they're like, okay, so we know how to take down Blue Beetle now. Good, that was a good theory. We didn't know that was gonna work. So
I feel like that's a lot of superheroing too. It's just like it's like field science. It's like, okay, we don't know if this will stop this super powered enemy we're fighting, so let's try this.
Yeah, that is something that's interesting. That each side eventually finds ways to get around the basic powers. So it's always this constant evolution. As if you don't adapt, you just get wrecked.
Yeah. Which is why a lot of villains like your typical rogues gallery of so many heroes groups end up being such a joke. It's why like Captain Cold is a super threat the first time you come across him. And then each time he gets a little bit easier because you're whittling through his bag of tricks and et cetera, et cetera. Which is what has always made the Joker so dangerous in Batman's rogues gallery, is because he's chaos.
Yes, that is absolutely true. So we get to the end of this episode where he's Aqualad and his team has captured Blue Beetle, Impulse, Boy. I forgot Beast Boy's also here. That was just a great scene where Beast Boy's just in his room watching Hello Megan on his phone. Gets a knock on the door. He's super excited, and he just gets punched out.
Yep. Poor Garfield.
Poor Garfield. It's like Garfield kind of gets shit on in these episodes, but
when he gets to own face, he really owns face.
Yes, that is true. So they get captured. Aqualad and Artemis have this conversation about whether if they're ready to actually go through with this, and then it's like we see it happen, and then obviously we see it from Aqualad's perspective as we see the illusion fade away, and he's just like, "Do it," and they blow up Mount Justice.
That was a pretty shocking moment.
Yes,
like whenever he did it, I'm like, it makes sense, but at the same time, it's just like they are gonna, like, when this is all said and done, if everything comes out as cleanly as they want to, from like finding the light, who they're working with, all this crap, they're still gonna get so much flack for this.
Yeah, and it's
like nobody else is gonna work with them ever again.
It's like it's an interesting thing to think about, that we're not even halfway through the series at this point, through the season at this point, and they are out of a main base.
Yep.
It's like we get a image of everything in the cave being destroyed. It's like, oh god,
I guess we're gonna see more Watchtower.
So it's like we see everything blow up, and then it cuts to Mal Duncan. Purpose of this episode, he literally rides up on his motorcycle. He's like, oh god, and he radios to Watchtower. He's like, Duncan, Watchtower, Mount Justice is.
Yeah,
and he makes it to the debris. He's like trying to find anybody. He hears Sphere in the distance. He takes out his phone. He scans for it. To zoom in, sees Sphere in his supercycle form, with Nightwing, Wolf, and Superboy all in tow. And he literally everything that would be a hindrance in the water. He swims out, literally saves Nightwing's life. Wakes up Superboy. He's like, Superboy, Connor, come on, we gotta get out of here. Can you grab Wolf? Because we need to book it. And everything, Sphere sort of retracts and falls down into the abyss.
Which also puts the image of Mount Justice in Impulse's future still very accurate.
Yes. So it's like they make it to shore, and in the end scene we have Nightwing sitting in the Hall of Justice and Wally coming in to, have everything together. Where, as we've discussed, Aqualad used this to get more information to Nightwing. There's actually this whole thing where Nightwing has like, Aqualad, you're never gonna get away with this, and then he punches him in the gut.
Which I remember that punch.
Oh yeah. And it's like he punches him in the gut, and there's like a transfer of the USB drive through that. But it also had like this huge moment. He's like, I believe I've outgrown the name Aqualad. You have, but that's still your name.
I mean, what are you going to go with? Do you want to change completely from an aqua theme? I mean,
It's like because you know, uh, Tempest is already still in use, so
maybe we can call him
it's like
Undertow.
we get uh, we get this great scene between Wally and Nightwing, as it's just like everything's coming to a head. Is so frustrated with everything because something that he had to do last episode was he had to lie to Artemis's mother's face about her being dead.
Yep. That's and that still like just mounts on top of it. Like when everything finally gets revealed that like no, this has been like a deep cover thing for the last 5 years or 4 years or however long they've been doing this. It's like that's not gonna fix things. Like people aren't gonna go like, oh no, all of these things you've done and these sacrifices, they were totally worth it. Like Batman would be like, yeah, that was totally worth it. But everyone else is gonna be like, it's not really worth it.
And it's like things get resolved by the end of the season, but
and I'm sure it does, and I'm sure it gets resolved in a relatively satisfactory way.
yeah,
But it's that mentality that like a normal human being, like Artemis's mother, may never be able to trust Wally again.
Yeah,
like ever. And that's not, and it's not just that. Like, oh man, I don't know. Any of the other the leaguers would be like, why the hell did you not come to one of us for this kind of information or let us know about this or whatever? And I know it's a compartmentalization thing. I understand that, but if you can't trust a Green Lantern with this information, and if you can't trust, I don't know, Batman with this information, then who can you trust?
Yeah, because the thing is, it's like with the number of people knowing it is this, it's like it's the least amount of people that would actually be able to spill it, especially since Wally's not on the team at the moment. But it's an easy way to keep it a secret.
But it still feels like there should have been someone outside of the four of them that knew about it. That like
yes.
If things started going south, they could have done something about it.
Like somebody who would have been a great person to tell this to.
Who?
Red Tornado.
Yeah, Tornado. I think like John, one of the Green Lanterns, John. I can't remember his last name.
John Stewart.
Yeah, even Bruce would have been good because he probably would have come up with other ways for them to be able to handle this that didn't involve Mount Justice getting blown up.
But as Nightwing says, it was a necessary risk. Also, all the souvenirs are gone now, which saddened me.
Still, this is like last.
It's just junk.
Yeah, it's the last few months, right? Like that's what this story has taken place over the course of like 4 months so far. But but the thing is, like, Batman has only been gone like 3 of those months, and apparently this whole undercover thing has been going on for a couple of years now. So
it's been, I think it's stated that it's been going on for about 8 months at this point. It's like, at least the plan for it has been going on for about 8 months.
It still feels like the 4 of them just feels like a very dangerous, risky move. And yes, Red Tornado probably would have been ideal to tell. Or crap. I even feel like Roy would have made sense.
See, Roy would have made sense if he started off the season in a much better place.
Sure, but at this point now where he's at, Roy would have made sense. Oliver would have made sense. This is the kind of crap they do.
It's like, I absolutely, it's like once Roy was in a better place, they should have informed him, because as we remember from the season finale of season 1, Aqualad is his best friend.
Yep. And then another one, even though he's not been introduced, but I know him from other DC stuff, The Question. perfect.
Yeah. The question would have suspected that this is exactly what would happen.
Yeah. But he'd be the perfect one to have information to give this information to, because then he could have been like, well, these are the things you need to look out for.
Yeah. But that's enough on this episode. Let's
Yeah.
move on to the next episode before the dawn.
Which is super intense.
Yes, it is.
It's going camping. It's so intense.
So we get it's an infiltration on the ship of the Light's partner, which we finally find out is in fact the Reach. It's like they really wanted the capture of Blue Beetle. Is their advanced agent for taking over the world. which is an actual real comic book thing.
Yep.
So that's like one of the first few things that we see is that all of these Atlantean soldiers have captured a whole new group of teenagers, and they focus on one teenager in particular a whole bunch throughout all these things, and that teenager is Stephanie Brown, who is confirmed to be in the cast for next season.
Is she the blonde one?
Yes.
That keeps talking to them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so
I don't know enough about a lot of the extended heroes they tend to use, because as much as I love DC's animated stuff, they just often throw buckshot handfuls of superheroes at you because that's what DC has.
Yeah.
And
but
it's like trying to keep up with every member that has ever been part of the X-Men.
But yeah, Stephanie Brown was at one point Robin.
Okay.
Most points spoiler. That's who she is. Heavy ties to Tim Drake usually, which is why it was interesting that the people going undercover in that group of teens were in fact Barbara Gordon and Tim Drake.
Yep.
It's like they are able to sneak into the. Shh. It's like, we're here to help. How do you know that? How can we be so sure? And they've got Bumblebee that's like hidden in their pockets. Like, yeah, we're superheroes. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that bothered me a little bit. I'm like, that still is like, okay, why don't you do something then? Why are you letting it? Because like a normal person would be like, okay, get us out of here before they put us on those pods that we obviously see other people getting put in.
Yeah, it's all a part of the plan. It's like it's a very elaborate plan, which involves parts that we don't quite see in the setup, but are just like when they're revealed, they're like, oh, okay then. Put in pods, and they get boarded. Aqualad, sort of brings them to the Reach's ship. We get everybody else in the bio ship taken in. We get a great scene of Magan dropping out of the bioship and then getting compressed from the water because how deep they are.
Yeah.
They start to infiltrate the ship, all the while Jaime is having all these different weird dreams that they have that he's been having. Oh, this is where I've got the 8 months from. Jaime has had the beetle for 8 months.
Right, because they go into a short backstory of when he got the beetle.
And it's like they go through that. They go through this weird dream sequence where he's talking to Ty, and Ty starts talking in Reach speak, and he's like,
yeah,
whoa.
Gotta crash that mode.
Yeah. Then we get a little bit more of what goes on with Impulse's speech patterns, where the beetle is off mode, as in it's not responding to their commands at all. Said it, which would involve killing Jaime.
Of course.
So I'm like, oh, so it's like when that happens, you're like, oh no, that can happen. Aqualad essentially gets this tour through the facilities. We have one lab that is all the non-powered humans for some reason.
Because he's just normal Atlantean. That's just things Atlanteans can do. And I'm like, what?
I mean, it's like he's an actual fish boy, right? That's not an average Atlantean. He's like the only one that's like that.
I'm like that one GIF that people meme all the time.
Yeah, it's I'm like, it's like every time I see that scene, I'm just like, no, he's not, and you could tell Aqualad really wanted to correct them, but they're like, it's not worth the effort. My team's gonna break them out anytime, so I'm not even gonna bother going through it.
It's like if he was even like, if all he was just the whole being able to breathe underwater and swim well because he's a fish guy. Like maybe he's a normal fish guy, but he can also like Hulk out.
Yeah.
Or Master Roshi buff, as I like to call it sometimes.
I think that part is the sorcery part.
But yeah, but that's still, I mean, it's weird.
The fish boy part, that's got to be organic on some level. The part, that's sorcery. Because I believe that when he does that, his tattoos light up like how Aqualad tattoos light up.
Still,
that's
weird.
And then we see the other lab where it's Impulse and Beast Boy just getting shot to try to push their metagene to their absolute limit. And you could tell that Aqualad wanted to react, but he couldn't.
So
you could see it on his face.
Deadpool came from.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's like, and then he's able to like bring this because you want to replicate their powers, correct? And then the female reach lady is like, it's so clever.
Yeah. You want to weaponize their metagene.
Yeah, the weaponize their metagene. I believe that is their. Also, one thing that we haven't talked about quite yet is of that hulking bad guy that we've seen in the background in a couple episodes, Black Beetle.
Yep.
Because he's pretty much peak performance Blue Beetle. And he is probably one of the most terrifying villains of this entire series.
He's got that cold, uncaring, you're not an actual organic entity to me because you're less than what I am.
Yes. Like, it's just the way he talks, the way he fights is so vicious, and you literally feel every hit that he does. And he's also smart, which is a terrifying combination.
Well, and it's the same thing. Like I'm very acquainted with the way that they're handling the whole Blue Beetle, Black Beetle dichotomy in this because it feels very Guyver. Because it's about Guyver for whatever, just real quick, that way reason I can relate to it so easily is about a high school kid that finds an alien bio armor that it's not sentient, but it's got like programmed AI type stuff, not nearly as advanced as the Beatles. But it's all about knowing how to use it and utilize it efficiently. Well, there's this corporation looking for all the Guyver units, and they want this kid's. So one of their top agents, who's like ex-Black Ops assassin, gets his hands on one too, and he's just a monster with it because he's got experience and he knows how to fight and he knows what he's doing. So that's part of the relation to this too, is Jaime's just a kid that's been doing this for 8 months. For all we know, Black Beetle's been like bred to do this for his whole life.
Yeah, because I don't think this is a spoiler at all, but he is a member of the Reach.
I kind of gathered from his lack of nose and his face shape.
Yeah. I mean, when I don't think Blue Beetle has a nose either when he's in his armor.
No, but we've seen him, like the way that armor is designed. I get the impression that it looks like a Reach, especially after seeing people from the Reach.
Correct. All right. So we everybody starts to break out of all these cells, starting with Impulse and Beast Boy and all the teenagers, including the 4 teenagers that were previously abducted. Don't know why Shimmer got abducted. Probably because she failed and didn't have any powers. So like,
we're curiously missing one though.
Which one?
We're missing Long Shadow.
No, he was in there.
Okay, I didn't notice him, and I feel like there should have been a scene where Jaime noticed him.
There definitely should have been, but he was there.
Okay.
No, decided to focus on a different member of that group of 4 for a good portion of the episode, even though he didn't have any lines. The future static Virgil.
Yep.
Because
he was like freaking out the whole time, and then he picks up the gun, and you're like,
oh.
And Black Beetle's like, stop it.
He's like, come on, please
get that weak stuff out of here.
But McGann frees both Garfield and Impulse, and Impulse is like, oh no, bye.
And before anyone can stop him, he's just off.
Yeah, because we come to find out once he does, in fact, rescue Blue Beetle from literally dying so that they could get the scarab from him. Cut to this timeline's future, but Impulse's past, where we find out that Blue Beetle is a huge villain.
But I'm pretty sure it's not Jaime.
It may or may not be Jaime.
I'm under the impression it's some other meat.
It might be. It might not be. We don't know for sure. All we know is that Blue Beetle betrays humanity and becomes like the enforcer for the Reach in the future.
All I'm saying is that beetle, the beetle itself, the scarab, whatever, doesn't give a crap about who it's betraying. It's just all about like kill everyone, do everything effective because computer, like technically speaking, yes.
Yeah. Like, the scarab has no humanity, so but he spills the beans to Jaime, which makes Jaime now really paranoid about his future.
Yep.
That's not all that happens with realizations. Magan and Gar meeting up with Aqualad.
Yeah.
And here we have the meeting of 2 so far coming to a point. And this is the critical mass of
they
everything.
Bring this up earlier in this episode too, when there's the big reveal of the real reason Connor and Magan split.
Yeah.
Because at one point when he was getting upset that she was using her powers to effectively lobotomize people, she made him forget he was upset with her.
Yeah.
And that's like above everything else that they've talked about, reasons why they probably split up. I could see that being, because I was like, okay, yeah, he'd be upset that she's abusing her powers or basically being like Simon or whatever. He still loved her and everything else, and it's not like she's directly betraying him. And the whole thing that he told that other girl that like, hey, I don't age, that's why I decided to break off with her. I'm like, that feels also really hollow, considering she probably can look like she won't age either, because she's a shapeshifter. But then he's like, yeah, when you used your powers on me to make me forget I was upset with you for that reason, that was the thing. I'm like, there it is. Because that's a betrayal of a personal trust of their relationship.
Yeah, it's like because in that episode he goes through all this whole spiel about how it perverted her touch in his mind and how much he cherished that.
Yep.
And
their link was like they had a really special bond, and then for her to use that bond just because he had a problem with what she was doing as a team member. And I'm like, that would do it, especially because for him having so many issues with mental control as it is, because if we think back to the beginning of the series, when she linked up everyone's mind for the first time, he was like, I don't like this. I'm really uncomfortable with this because of my past being controlled like psychically.
Yeah. But it definitely comes to a head when she whammies Aqualad.
And the problem is
that he's undercover and Artemis isn't dead.
Yeah. By the time she figures out everything. Because she even says, like, whenever she's basically lobotomizing these people or whatever she's doing to them, she's getting all this information from their minds. The problem is by the time she figures it all out, he's already catatonic.
Yeah, because it's like we see everything chronologically. Like, it starts with them meeting.
Yep. And Artemis seems a little miffed when she comes across what's happening.
Yeah, it's like we see all this, and then Megan just has this instant realization he just messed everything up.
Yep.
And she's just like, oh no.
Oh God, what have I done? Well, and it's even further. Not only did she mess up the entire plan, but she potentially destroyed the mind of someone that was actually legitimately her friend and was putting everything of himself on the line for this.
Yes.
It's not even just the plan, it's the people that are now affected by it. I think that's what affects her more.
Yes. And then it's like we see Tigris come in. That's like she sees through the illusion, and then they reestablish the mind link between those two, and they have a conversation, and like it's like she sees through it, and it's Artemis in her outfit, and she's like, McGann, what have you done?
Like, how could you?
She's just like, I didn't know.
Yeah, which it goes back to the whole compartmentalization is only so good.
It's like, this just proves that Superboy and McGann should have been in on the plan.
Yep. You especially get the telepath in on the plan.
Yes.
Because what if she's having a day where she accidentally forgets she can overhear surface thoughts or something?
Yeah.
Walking by thinking about the plan.
It's like, but it will have huge ramifications for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
this whole thing. Yeah, and that only happens halfway through the episode. We still got half an episode to talk about.
Because then there's still the big escape scene.
Yeah, so everybody tries to make it onto the ship. Most of the teenagers get onto the ship. Cassie is helping them sort of move in. We find out that Superboy was dressed as one of the Atlantean guards. Just sort of, so it's like, that's like a real. It's like, it would have been nice to know that. How did he do that, and why, and when, and how?
It doesn't matter. It's awesome. It's great.
It doesn't matter. It's a great reveal, but it's just like one of those things. Just like, how, when, why, who? Okay, I can accept this.
I have less problems with that hole in the plot than I do with the entirety of Nightwing's plan.
Yeah, it's like Nightwing's plan. It starts off fairly solid. They're able to have everybody believe that Artemis died, that Aqualad is turned to the dark. Light believes it too, but at the same time, really should have told a couple more members of his team.
Yeah,
I feel like the only reason Wally knows is because
Artemis knows.
There's no way that Artemis would have done this without Wally knowing.
Yeah.
It's like, and I also I don't believe that Dick would have been able to do that to Wally.
Yeah.
That would have legitimately ended their friendship.
Yep. This might legitimately end their friendship.
Yeah. Yeah. It's intense. these are some intense episodes.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's like being rushed onto the bioship. However, Black Beetle comes in and he's just like, nope, and he shuts down all the doors. He's
Yep.
like, I'm gonna kill all of you right now. And
We
like
can
there's so it's like most of the heroes except for Nightwing in area and also Magon, uh, Beast
God.
Boy, Blue Beetle, and Impulse are still outside. So it's all the heroes that they had waiting in the bioship and hiding out. So it's Tim, it's Barbara, it's Cassie, it's Superboy, it's Bumblebee, and
Is Cassie a Wonder Girl or whatever?
it's Wonder Girl.
Okay, I couldn't remember her name. Yeah, it's the two of them, Superboy and Connor and Cassie should have been quite the boon to stopping Black Beetle, but that proves how terrifying he is. That he can just without breaking a sweat take down a half Kryptonian and a Themysciran.
But yeah, it's like it's so intense. He's just not having any of their shit. Is also still in there. Like of all the abductees that are still there, Shimmer and Virgil are still in the central area. And Shimmer's just like, yeah, I'm gonna fight with Black Beetle. I don't care. I'm still evil. Sure, you were helping me escape, but fuck it.
Right? That's not inaccurate.
Yeah, so that's they're doing everything. Miss Martian and Beast Boy make it to the door. Miss Martian's still out of it because she just realized she just destroyed one of her friends.
She just ruined 8 months.
Yeah, she ruined
And
so much. Yeah, and she's like just so out of it. And then Beast Boy's like, "Could you at least get the mental link back on?" And he's saying it in the mental link. He's like, "Thanks, guys, what's going on in there?" And then it's like we find out that Cassie's the only one left fighting. Cassie, it's like I believe Cassie and Barbara are the only two people left fighting at this point.
Because Tim and Connor are just down.
Yeah. So Beast Boy's like, Magon, get in there. She's like, how? And then he's like, density shift. And she's like, oh yeah, I can still do that. I can still do that. And it's like we get to the start of Magon is now very wary about using her powers.
Yeah.
She gets halfway through the door, Black Beetle sees her, and he shifts the density of the door.
Which, that has to be painful.
Yes, absolutely painful. And then Cassie's like, what did you do to her? He's like, I shifted the density of the door.
Yeah.
I'll put you halfway through the door through to the hard way.
And he just starts throwing her into that door rapidly.
And it's like you know she's fine. She's a little extra durable, but man,
that's still a lot of power to be doing that. It was reminiscent of Age of Ultron when you have Tony and the Hulkbuster fighting Hulk. He's just like, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep.
It's just like he just not let up, and it's like he's finally done with her. By the way, there's no dent in that door. That door is solid.
Yes, between his power, the fact that she is a Themysciran, and the metal of that door, that combination is intense to show how powerful all three of those things are.
Yeah. So finally, Blue Beetle and Impulse make it to the door. Blue Beetle's able to open the door because it's still Reach technology.
Yeah, it's the same stuff.
The door's open. Virgil gets who was leaning against the door gets, which is a nice funny scene. And it's like everything seems to be going okay. Blue Beetle's up against Black Beetle and Shimmer a bit. She's just sort of woozy. Puts her hand on the side of the ship, and it melts.
Yep.
knowing that Shimmer had no powers beforehand, and leads, it's kind of obvious what's going to happen. There were 4 other abductees with her, one
Yep.
of which is a known superhero. Sort of, they're all known superheroes. You just don't know who they are yet.
They're just not known in the scope of this show yet.
Yes. So it's like Shimmer melts the hole in the ship, and then water starts rushing in, which now has this sort of ticking clock on I can go. And it's like everybody makes it back onto the ship, except for Blue Beetle, who's still fighting Black Beetle. Impulse is like,
Basically holding them off.
I need to go back and get him. It's like he tries to rush in and then gets knocked back by water, all to go without him. So they close up the bio ship, and just it's a fight between Blue Beetle and Black Beetle. Blue Beetle's like, he's too weak. They've been torturing him too much, and the Scarab takes over again to fight. But as he's fighting, he gets a flash of what the Blue Beetle is in the future, and he's like, "No, I need to do this." And he manages to beat back the Black Beetle for a while. Eventually escapes into the water. They send Lagan out to go grab him, and they escape, go up the bioship, and it's a nice little scene where it's like up there's like a water bubble, and they're like,
Yep.
just like a nice bit of animation, if I do say so. Managed to escape with everyone.
Yeah, which is pretty impressive.
It's pretty impressive for how terrifying and stressful this entire episode was.
Well, and how wrong everything kind of went.
Yeah, and of course we get Beast Boy sort of just talking about how Miss Martian just destroyed Aqualad, and you see that look.
What you also see the look on her face.
Yeah, the entire time.
There's one face we don't get a reaction from. At least I didn't notice one was from Nightwing.
Yeah, we don't see him because if we did see him, it'd be like, oh dear God, no.
That's my old friend.
That's my friend. That's my plan. Nothing.
Artemis is now in trouble. What's Wally gonna do?
It's like, Wally's going to kill me.
Wally's gonna get himself killed.
It's like even though everybody makes it out alive, and everything is wrong.
Yeah. For as happy of an ending as they're getting for this episode, it is actually not a very happy one at all.
That's pretty much a great way to describe this entire season.
Yeah. For as right as everything's going, it's still incredibly wrong.
Yeah. That's like that. That's why that's like saying season 2 is a very different show than season 1. I wasn't kidding. Season 2 is a very different show from season 1.
Even from season 1, it makes sense because the overall themes of season 1 are like, you can do good, but there's consequences. There's always something that's going to happen. I mean, look at the fallout from season 1 with season 2. Like, you have Roy is just basically letting himself die while searching for real Roy, and you have all
the Leaguers that have to go off world now because of the actions that Vandal Savage made them do.
Yeah, it's all little things. It's weird to look at. Like, what's the one I was looking at? Like, what you thought was going to be perfectly okay with, Garfield getting a blood transfusion from Miss Martian turned out, well, he's green now, and
yeah, But that sort of worked out for him. What didn't work out for him was the mind control that Queen Bee put on him under, which probably led to the death of his mother.
Probably.
The whole thing is like, there's nothing you could have done. that the McGann said in like episode 2.
Well,
But it's just
also the implication is it was a car accident, and
the implication that is a car accident, but also Queen Bee was behind it.
yeah.
One could infer that if Gar, we did know that Gar was under her thrall. It's kind of implied.
Yep. So, but there's
yeah,
one more
season 2 is
important thing about this episode.
Well, what is that?
Well, it's the fact that at the very end of the episode, Robin or Nightwing is like, we gotta warn people like that they're here. Like this isn't some secret invasion anymore. The secret's out. And before they can, the Reach is like, hey, we're the Reach. We're here to help. Hi, United Nations.
Yeah, and it's like,
even
and
G.
like
Gordon,
the top.
even G. Gordon Godfrey's on top
G.
of
Gordon.
this.
G. Gordon, his role now is to be like the mouthpiece for the Reach, and be like, the Reach are so great. Justice League sucks.
Which is what I have. I'm very interested to see how that goes. I'm very curious to find out more about Godfrey himself.
Yeah. It's like we get a reveal towards the end of the series that like really ties everything together, but and that's all I'm gonna say on that matter.
Fair.
But it's like these are 2 really great episodes, and I need to pull up the list for next. So while I'm doing that, you got anything you would like to plug?
Well, currently tonight at about 7 Eastern, 6 Central, 4 Pacific. That sounds like the correct times. We, my wife and I, Ashley, we are doing our BFF year in review of film type thing, where we talk about like our top 10 films of the year. We talk about other movies we saw, just generally like our year in movies, like how we approached it, what we felt about it, that kind of stuff. So, it's New Year's Eve. It feels like the right time to do that. It's not like we're going to watch any more films in the theater between now and midnight. And we're also currently doing our BFF Streamsmas on our channel, Geek to My Nerd, where we are streaming video games over the course of Christmas break for about 2 hours a day, roughly. Right now, we're knee deep in Stardew Valley, and
Stardew Valley, so good, man.
It's a great game.
It is.
It's a lot of fun, and it's from smaller developers, and it's really nice to, as small streamers, also stream games from smaller developers. Because I know Stardew Valley is popular, but it's not like it's owned by EA or anything.
Yeah, because like with which version of Stardew Valley are you playing? I'm assuming
PS4.
the PS4 version. Yeah.
PS4.
I was like the PC version, like the original version of Stardew Valley, was made top to bottom by one person.
Yeah. Yep.
And like he had assistance with the portings, but
I think their team is
still
really
a very
expanded
small
slightly.
And it's like he's still hard at work. He wants to get multiplayer into that game, man.
Yep. Where you can visit other
Real
people's
good.
farms.
It's like it's such a good game. I've played through it like 4 times.
Yep. So, but we're doing that. I don't know what we'll do next, but we've streamed tons of games from Fallout, Skyrim. I did some Final Fantasy 15. Ashley did some Retro City Rampage, and we're doing other stuff. And we're looking at streaming the Guardians of the Galaxy Telltale game after the beginning of the year. So you can find us at Geek to My Nerd with underscores between each word on Twitter. I've commented in the chat currently, so you can check there. Or our YouTube channel is Geek to My Nerd. You can find me on Twitter at The Spice Must Joe. And yeah.
All right. So as always, you can find me at Bunk Bunker on Twitter. Recently, I started up. Well, I didn't start it up. Tom started up a new show on his channel, Odd Shape Channel, where he and I talk about some pilots TV shows that didn't quite make it to series. We've got our first episode out now of the 2006 Man series. I still have Aqualad on the brain. And next week, this Tuesday, we've already recorded it. We're going to be talking about the 1999 starring Jack Black and Owen Wilson, not Matthew McConaughey. Tom is just bad at riddles. The series Heat, Vision, and Jack, which is it's going to be a much different episode than the first one, just because of how different it was. But it's like there's that. Next week on this show, we'll be talking about episode 11, Cornered, and episode 12, True Colors. So I'm excited for that. We're getting True Colors introduces a very character to the whole dynamic of what's going on, and yeah, I'm excited to talk about those two. Yeah, so I will see you guys next week, hopefully. Bye.
Bye.